I changed my major to chemistry because I loved it. I was really good at it in high school and it was fun. But I didn't know what I was going to do with it after I was done undergrad. And it took me until my junior year in undergrad for a project for a course to realize what I wanted to do. And through the project, I had to research a little bit about plastic pollution. And when I found out how new it was and what a problem it was probably going to be and how little research there was, I was very interested and I said, I'm going to do that. When I was applying to grad schools, there were no professors looking for Ph.D. students to research plastic in any way. I called all around the country. All the scientists who were working on plastic work were postdocs or professors who hadn't gotten a grant yet to get a student, or people in the government. So I had to come up with my own project, present it to someone who had money, and hope that they would fund me. And that is what ended up happening and how I ended up at Horn Point. My research focused on the effects of plastic pollution on oysters. Oysters are obviously a really important organism for our area, ecologically, economically, culturally, especially being on the eastern shore. And they're also filter feeders, meaning that they will filter through the water, and an adult oyster can filter 50 gallons of water a day. So any of the particles or anything that's in that water that they're filtering, they're going to see, they're going to touch, ingest, or handle in some type of way. So it means that oysters are vulnerable to microplastics. And I wanted to understand that interaction. So what I did, usually on a daily basis, was I had to come up with some methods to be able to test this, because nobody had really tested this. And I work with the babies. I work with larvae because I work in the Horn Point oyster hatchery, and we're making larvae to repopulate the bay and various other things. And then I would feed these microplastics to oyster larvae, and I would look at different physiological effects, so growth, respiration, and all these other measurements, and see what happens when they eat plastic. And oysters are very good at ingesting plastic, and in most cases they are pretty good at getting rid of plastic too. That is positive, that that's their job, that's what they're built to do, is to handle particles. So most of the particles, especially the smooth round things, microbeads that have been very popular in the news, they're very good at handling those. And they have to spend a lot of energy getting rid of these particles, these non-nutritious particles, as you would expect. So that takes away energy from other things, probably more towards reproduction. I haven't seen any deficiencies in growth, but I've also been looking at a short time scale. So growth could be affected over a longer time period, but they have to allocate a lot more energy to getting rid of these particles than to doing other things. That also means that they have to feed more to get enough food to be able to do that. I am optimistic, because I think my generation and the younger generation have really grown up and been built around the environment and have been instilled with the values that the environment is important. So there are genius, very brilliant young people who are working on this problem with their whole life. That's what they're doing, and so I really admire that. And I think that it's going to take a big cultural change globally to address some of these problems, but I think that we're going there, we're getting there.